Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Judge's Decision podcast. This is the series where we choose robots from all over any modern series of robot combat, and we make them fight to the death. Because we're good at that, and nobody cares. We... They genuinely don't. We have our special guest, as always, the wonderful Robot Wars guru himself...
Anderson 9132.
Hello, yeah. Anderson. How the devil are you?
I'm jolly good, thank you. I'm jolly good. Very excited. Robo Nerd's in a couple of days. I'm pretty certain this is going up after Robo Nerd, isn't it?
It is definitely going up after Robo Nerd. I shan't be editing this in 2 days.
Jolly good. So everyone out there who's listening to this, we've actually been to Robo Nerd now. We've met each other and lots of other people in the YouTube Robot Wars community, and it was probably been a bloody good time. So yeah,
it was a really good time, wasn't it, Anderson? Oh, I had a brilliant time, especially when that thing happened.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, when the whole venue caught fire, that was interesting. That was brilliant. Also, me and Sam did that beautiful duet before making out on stage. It was just wonderful.
Oh, please. Okay. Well, interesting you should say about on stage. By the time this comes out, it will be old news, but I've been asked to actually moderate the ESC podcast live event. I'll be the audience guy.
Oh, nice.
Which is thoroughly exciting.
Very exciting. I mean, just a little cheeky plug. ESC are awesome. Go check them out. If you don't,
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't go check them out, I'll tell your neighbours that you've abused children. There we go.
Yes. Okay. Moving swiftly on. We have 6 robots in today's heat of the show. So we are in the Robot Wars Series 10 arena with the house robots and everything. And each week, one of us will decide on the robots to fight, and the other one will have the overall say on who gets to win. So, in the first melee, Anderson, we have Gnasher from Extreme Robots 2019, Tanshe from King of Bots, the preview event that was in January, that weird starting event, and Skorpios, which is from BattleBots Series 9, or Discovery Series 2, or however
2019,
you want to call it. Yeah,
whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
The one that's on at the minute, innit?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're not aware of these robots, and they'll be on screen for you, I don't expect you to go in knowing all of these robots. So,
you're not aware of some of them, though. How the hell did you get here?
I mean, maybe you're just starting in the robot community, in which case, welcome, friend. We're all like this, yes.
We're all sociopaths.
Except the good ones. They're not around anymore. We dealt with so Gnasher is a wonderful 2-wheel drive, vertical spinner drum weird hybrid. It's sort of a Drisk, sort of not. Drisk, if you don't know, is the combination of a drum and a disc. But it's more a drum with 2 barbs sticking out of it.
So it's a brum. It's a brum spinner.
It's a brum spinner. I'm loving that description. I'm keeping that. Tanshe is a flipper I never expected to work in the shape of it, and Skorpios is an overhead spinner, or as the Americans will refuse to stop calling, is it a hammer spinner? Or a
hammer saw or something.
It's a horrible
stupid
description. I hate it.
It really is. It's stupid.
Okay, Anderson, which house robot would you like in the arena for this fight?
I believe I would like Dead Metal in there, old boy, because it's my personal favourite house robot, so why not start the series on a good note, eh?
Excellent. So we will go with that, and let us begin. So we'll start talking about tactics. So, realistically, the tactics of these robots, Gnasher's going to want to cause some ultimate damage and destruction. Tanshe's going to want to flip robots out the arena. Skorpios is going to want to try and control the fight. So we've got quite a nice overall, look at the judging criteria.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of those episodes, one of those fights, where each robot sort of has a bit of an advantage over the other. I'd probably say the weakest robot going in here, as far as tactic is concerned, is Gnasher. simply because we don't know just how much damage it can do to both Skorpios and Tanshe. Both are very well-driven machines, can get out of danger a lot quicker. So
yeah, it's definitely worth noting that any major damage that Gnasher has done on the live scene, however beautiful it has always been the result of Aftershock hitting the machine it's fighting first.
But yeah, basically it's just been like picking at the carcass almost, sort of thing, the vulture. Meanwhile, I mean, Tanshe is a quick machine, very powerful flipper, and it has the advantage of the lower side walls in certain parts of the arena. So of course, there's every chance of an out of the arena there. And then Skorpios is just such a well-driven machine. I can't, and I mean, you know, no offense to Gnasher, but robots with bigger spinners like Ice Wave haven't been able to beat Skorpios.
No.
And with the pit in there as well, because obviously this is a Series 10 arena, with the pit, I think Skorpios definitely has a advantage. Not as much of an advantage as they would have, because obviously there's the Doom dial now, isn't it, in Series 10? So obviously
yes, there is.
You've got the stupid fog of war rubbish, and you've got the the rogue house robot, etc. But even then, those will still be helpful towards Skorpios in some way or another. For me, it's more between Tanshe and Skorpios for me out at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It is quite fun to imagine the fact that Skorpios has such good potential in the Robot Wars arena with all of the hazards and that. I think more of an advantage than they do in the Battle Box, honestly.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously there's the CPZ, so they can get them into the house robots, there's the spikes, there's the flame pit, there's the actual pit itself, there's the floor flipper, and of course, because the Robot Wars arena is bigger than the Battle Box, at least the Series 10 version anyway, you know, there's more room for them to move around in. You know, so they're able to get out of danger a lot easier. They've got more room to be able to outmaneuver their opponents. So they've definitely got a stronger chance here. And to be honest, out of these three, I am leaning more towards Skorpio just because of the control aspect. But not only just that, but also they can control and do damage.
Yeah.
Gnasher is just drive in, do damage. That's its main method of attack, which, don't get me wrong, is fine, but when you're up against two very well-driven, very experienced machines, you're sort of a bit, you need a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Again, with Gnasher, if you'd seen it in 2018, they went in without a weapon. The robot wasn't quite done yet, and they needed the off-season to try and get their robot up to sort of this potential, but they went in as a wedge, and it went to show that their wedging capabilities are terrible. They couldn't really push robots around at all. I believe in a melee that I saw live in Colchester, Suspension, the very low pusher or the wedge bot from the team that went to King of Bots, they beat it, and it's the Expulsion team as well from Robot Wars. They beat it very easily. Puck was also in the arena, but they didn't beat Puck because it's Puck when it was all said and done.
Yeah. Puck for the next champions.
Puck for President 2020.
Yeah. I mean, that just kind of says it all really about Gnasher. It is very much a robot that's more weapon than anything else, and that isn't going to help you in a battle against these two machines, I don't think. So it is between Tanshe and Skorpios for me. And whilst I can see Tanshe easily managing to get both these machines out of the arena, I can see Skorpios outmaneuvering Tanshe and exposing its rear.
Most definitely.
It's exposed to the sides and the rear. It's got a high ground clearance at the back, if I'm right in thinking.
It does. It has that sort of weird... I don't know what the word is here, but it's sort of...
Apollo-esque lip.
Yeah, it's a reverse wedge on the back.
Yeah, reverse wedge, yeah. So it's sort of like, when it flips up, so it doesn't throw itself over, it just sort of like rolls back a bit, and then like Eruption, Apollo, and all those other flippity-floppity blokes. But yeah, so yeah, I could definitely see Skorpios exploiting that. If you look at the flipper, it looks like the main plate is held on by what looks like pipes. I'm pretty certain it's a bit more technical than that, don't get me wrong.
It's not. It is genuinely welded onto those pipes. It has that sort of odd eye section across the top that holds it all together up the top and provides the extra protection against overhead hits. But if you remove that, which has happened before, you then get to the CO2 bottle, and with an overhead weapon like Skorpios, that's not what you want.
That seems like a very tasty snack for Skorpios to me.
It is,
and especially if it's got its disc configuration and not its sword configuration. We've seen that thing can hit robots hard when coming down. So And I think with the addition of the pit and with the addition of the CPZ and house robots especially, I do believe that Skorpios will be able to control Tanshe and Gnasher and get them where they want to get them, in good time. So for me, it's Skorpios going through. I don't know if you agree with me on that one, but how I see it.
I think you are completely right there. There is very little that Gnasher can do through these means, and Tanshe, while an excellent machine, and don't get me wrong, Gnasher is also a really good machine. I absolutely love it. I wouldn't have put it into my melee or my heat if I didn't think that. But Tanshe, for me, though a good flipper, that's sort of all it has going for it. And on occasion, their driving has let them down against robots such as Great White in the previous series of King of Bots, sorry. Their driving has let them down, and a superb driver in Skorpios just sees them sailing through for me. So yeah, I completely agree.
Okay, so melee one, we're going on Skorpios going through them.
We are, and Tanshe and Gnasher will have to go through redemptions to have a hope of getting anywhere in this tournament.
Now, obviously, just before we go on, obviously, the way the redemptions work was the robot that came second in one melee went up against the robot that came third in the other. So are we going to agree that Gnasher comes third, Tanshe comes second, or do you think it would go the other way?
No, I think that's right. So we'll see Tanshe going to redemption A and Gnasher going to redemption B.
Yep, okay, that sounds good to me.
Lovely. We shall move on then to melee number 2, where we have Duck from BattleBots Series 8, or the 2018 series, or Discovery Series 1. We have TwoBBQ from the opening live event from King of Bots 2019. And we have Gabriel 2 from Robot Wars Series 10. At long last, a Robot Wars machine makes it into the Robot Wars arena.
Woohoo!
And house robot for this one, Anderson?
I'm gonna go with Matilda.
Matilda, interesting. The matriarch of mayhem herself. Lovely. Yeah. So, tactic-wise, again, we've got an interesting mix of robots here.
Oh, definitely. We got a big spinner, a rambot with a lifter, and a crazy thwacky thing.
That is the only way you can describe Gabriel too.
Those are the technical terms. They are the technical terms. It's just there's a way of describing it. This is another one of those tough fights because it's more about what can they do to each other. Obviously, TwoBBQ is just going to go in and try and hit things, and it has every right to, because that blade on it, that disc on it, whatever you want to call it, is fantastic.
It really is. To send a robot like Spectre flying in the manner it did is just phenomenal.
Definitely. Duck is going to want to charge in there and basically aim its plow at the spinner to try and absorb those hits. We know Duck can take big hits. It's taken on Tombstone and nearly survived.
Yeah.
It's received a bashing from Cobalt and survived that. So we know that Duck can survive those big hits. And I'm pretty certain it could survive the ones that TwoBBQ dishes out. Not so much to the point where they wouldn't get affected by them, because they would, but to the point where they wouldn't be killed by them.
Yeah.
As an overhead weapon, I see it getting a good attack in on both these two. Duck is a very flat, low box robot, perfect target for that big, huge sword to come down. As for TwoBBQ, if I'm right in thinking, their weapon belt is pretty exposed at the top.
Yeah, it is. It would definitely be a snipe shot where if they got to the side of the disc, they would definitely hit it. But it is tricky because they have those extended sort of, I want to call them ears, with the wheels on so that they can run upside down.
Yes. Like I said, Gabriel 2 hitting that would be a 1 in a million shot. Yes, definitely. But it is a possibility, they probably would try and do that.
Whether they'd be controlled enough to actually do it is another question altogether.
Yes, definitely.
Now, just a quick question. Oh, go on.
Oh, go on. You go first. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, just a quick question is, who's driving Gabriel? Is it Craig Colias or is it his son, Toby?
Oh, I think we need to have Craig in there.
Interesting. Craig is an absolute darling as well.
He is an absolute darling. He's a brilliant lad. He really is. One of the most lovely Roboteers you could ever meet, apparently. It's a mission to meet him, damn it.
Yes.
I will say, the thing is, though, I think, honestly, with what we just said about the control aspect, that's probably going to make Gabriel maybe the weakest of these guys. Maybe. I'm not too sure. Because, obviously, of the actual aim.
Yeah.
And how much... I mean, we know that thing can hit hard, but how much damage has it ever really done in the past? Let's be honest, it has never really done much damage.
No. Apart from to Chomp-a-Lot, which in fairness is Chomp-a-Lot.
Exactly. Well, don't get me wrong, I love Chomp-a-Lot, but it's a bit outdated, guys, you know?
It is. It has its Iron Maiden's win. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Even if Behemoth was robbed.
They were definitely robbed. Behemoth should have been there.
The thing is, though, I can also see Duck just doing what Hal normally does, just going full on balls to the wall and just giving the what for to TwoBBQ's spinner.
I definitely think that Duck is aiming at TwoBBQ throughout this. That they will see them as the main target here and just go headfirst at them.
Yeah, knowing how he works in these sort of situations, he goes for the biggest target. He doesn't give a crap if his robot gets damaged or not. He just charges, and he charges first, thinks about it later.
Yeah.
And that's a good tactic to have against a robot like TwoBBQ because it stops them from spinning up. It potentially makes them damage themselves. And like we said, that weapon belt is exposed. So again, a good few hits into that, and it could dislodge the weapon belt.
Definitely.
But Duck, see, the one problem I really have is that Duck would struggle with Gabriel too, though.
Yeah, this is very much a rock paper scissors scenario once again, where something like Duck is going to you'd have to think straight at the side of Gabriel's wheels, and what they're going to hope to do is just sort of shunt it across the arena.
Yeah, which isn't impossible.
No, but it is sort of difficult because Gabriel is such a wacky design, which makes it an interesting contender here.
Definitely. But obviously, if it was to go to the judge between those two, I'd probably say Duck would win on aggression.
Yeah, I think this
then again, I don't know, actually, because obviously Gabriel's got the big thwacky thing.
What is aggression? I think I'm going to turn to the official Robot Wars handbook to give you the true definition of aggression here, which is relentlessly taking the battle to its opponents.
Which is exactly what Duck does.
Yes, whereas Gabriel takes the fight to the floor mainly.
Yes, I understand that obviously they have to retract the weapon and it will hit the floor and all that, but let's be honest now, when it comes down to it, Gabriel, yes, they do go in there, but Duck is renowned for being a robot that literally just goes flying into things.
Yeah.
And taking the battle to anybody. They do not let off. They do not let up. They keep going at you and keep coming at you and keep coming at you, and you think it's dead, but no, it keeps on. I mean, look at its fight against Cobalt. It literally, and Tombstone. I mean, it just literally did not stop.
Even on one wheel against Tombstone, it did not stop.
Exactly. And that just kind of shows you where we're looking at here. And to be honest, I can see TwoBBQ's weapon breaking. And I can see Duck and Gabriel having a good clash as well, but I can see Duck probably bossing Gabriel too around the arena. So I'm believe it or not here, I'm actually leaning towards Duck.
No, I think that's fair. I wondered whether TwoBBQ's weapon, or at least those ears, are tall enough to get hold of Gabriel, because if so, TwoBBQ can do the controlling of Gabriel. Duck can be in there basically doing what it did when it first came on the scene, in that fight against Mecha Rampage and Free Shipping, as well as Duck being in there. Duck held back, let those two fight, and then when the fight turned, Duck was in there and controlled that fight like it was its own, and won it.
Yeah. So, and also, Hal got the assistance of the CPZs as well.
Yes, he does. And having a good shunt across the arena towards Matilda, I think Gabriel too is going to have some issues.
Yeah, and TwoBBQ would as well. So,
well, yeah.
On a basis of aggression, sturdiness, and just not giving up, I think I'm going to give it to Duck, yeah.
Yeah, I think the control will also help them there. Yeah, you've got to give it to Duck there, definitely. I think the fight would last a full 3 minutes, but it is a judge's decision, and you're absolutely right. Duck would definitely plough through that one. So, Duck go through to the semi-finals.
Yep.
And we have TwoBBQ and Gabriel 2 going into Redemption. Whoever thought TwoBBQ would get to this point?
I know, that kind of surprised me and myself, actually. Because it is a good robot in its own right.
Oh, it's an amazing robot. It was my pick to win the series. I don't think it is anymore for this series of King of Bots, but that is basically because King of Bots 2 is a bag of cats in a blender.
Oh, yes, definitely. And that's just the editing.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah. So who would we say would come second in that fight, and who would we say come third?
So am I right in thinking the person who comes second goes into Redemption B this time, and the person who comes third goes into Redemption A?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, the robot that comes second in one fights the robot that came third in the other, and vice versa.
Well, based on what you said, you thought that Duck and Gabriel 2 would be the last two robots standing. So by that logic, TwoBBQ comes third, Gabriel 2 comes second?
Yeah, okay, that sounds good to me. I don't. I mean, I could see all three moments going to go in the full 3 minutes. I just think that TwoBBQ would be the most beaten up because also, like you said, it's the biggest threat, so they might even gang up on it a little bit as well.
Oh yeah, I can imagine them pushing it to a side wall, turning it over, and TwoBBQ doesn't like being upside down. You've got a floor flipper in that arena, you're going to use it to your advantage.
Exactly.
So yeah, I completely agree. So Redemption A, then, we have a lovely King of Bots fight between Tanshe and TwoBBQ, who interestingly are on the same team of King of Bots this year.
Yeah, because they do it in teams because it's stupid.
Yeah,
there
I'm
we
really
go.
hoping that the overall winning team then turns in on itself and all the robots from that team have to fight it out to find the champion. I think that's how that's going to work.
Let's hope so, because otherwise it's going to be bloody idiotic. It really is.
I can't pretend to imagine how King of Bots works.
Shiny,
anyway, oh, yeah. So we turn now to Redemption A, where we've got Tanshe versus TwoBBQ. Anderson, who's in the arena for the house robots?
Let's throw Shunt in there.
Shunt, yes, my favourite house robot. Baby Shunt. Do.
For God's sake.
I now need to add that to the Grand Slam somehow.
Now, reason with me here, right?
Yep.
I honestly cannot believe I'm saying these words, and I cannot believe it's going out this early, but I actually think Tanshe's got this one in the bag.
How dare you? I agree.
I know, well... Oh, you agree? Oh, for goodness for that. The only reason I say that is look at the ground clearance on TwoBBQ.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we know that Tanshe's front wedge is meant to be a spinner deflector.
Yes,
We've
definitely.
seen that robots can just drive at verticals and get underneath the vertical spinner side of things when there's no wedge on the front of it. And there's wedge lits on the front of TwoBBQ, but there's also a big bit of gap.
There is a
We know
chasm
that
in between, yeah.
Exactly. We know that TwoBBQ cannot run upside down very well, and its weapon's a bit rubbish like that. And with the extra ground clearance when it's upside down, there's 4 low sidewalls, lads.
Yes.
If it manages to make it to the full 3 minutes, it's going to be chucked around the entire fight. But I don't see that happening. I see Tanshe throwing it a few times and then getting it out the arena.
Now, what's also worth noting is that Tanshe has interchangeable front plows ever since I think they had them for This Is Fighting Robots, that show we must never talk about, but at least it wasn't Clashbots. Now, I believe it has an attachment that it would go into this fight using, which has sort of an extended front on it. So if you can imagine a sort of spatula design, I believe that's what they would go in with. As I've just said, TwoBBQ doesn't work too well upside down, so I don't see them standing much of a hope here.
Yeah, I'm definitely on that page with you, to be fair. So yeah, I mean, we're just... I can't believe I'm saying it, but TwoBBQ is already out. What?
Jeez. How long are they surviving in the arena? What's the clock saying?
A minute, maybe.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I was just going to say this now. When Javin sent me this list, I thought, oh, TwoBBQ's in there. It's won this episode. But because what I didn't want to do is before we came onto this, I didn't want to think about it because I wanted the idea of it was to be decided on the day.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to think about it in the over the few days before, thinking, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, because it would just make this very boring. So I genuinely thought TwoBBQ was winning this heat, but no, after looking at it logically and thinking about it, it's actually going out this early. Jesus Christ!
I'll tell you what, I did exactly the same thing. I hate metagaming when I'm playing sort of tabletop things. When people are discussing the game outside of the rules of the game, it sort of defeats the object of playing a sort of RPG style thing, which effectively this is.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So with that in mind, TwoBBQ, who I had also thought would probably just smash this one, because of the way the heat has fallen, they go out. and Tanshe go through to the semi-finals.
Bloody hell.
I'm in shock. So, worth noting, so the winner of Melee 1 will go through to Semi-Final 1. The winner of Redemption A will also go through to Semi-Final 1. So the next fight they will have is up against Skorpios, which should be a repeat, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Redemption B, meanwhile, is a bit different. We have Gnasher versus Gabriel 2, and there's only one house robot left, so I'm assuming Anderson?
Oh, we may as well throw Circular in there. Go on.
Circular. Special K himself.
Yeah. Sir K!
Whoa.
Americans out there.
Jeez. What was that? Was that Nickelodeon?
It was, yeah. So Dead Metal is fine, but Sir Kill a lot is oh no, that's not kid friendly.
It's Dead M. No, it's not.
You do realise that Disney films kill off parents all the time, and that's perfectly fine. But saying kill a lot on Nickelodeon is apparently a bad thing. I don't understand it either.
Press F to pay respects to Bambi.
Smash F. So with this one, it's a tale of two sides really. Nash is a flat low robot that can easily be hit by Gabriel 2.
It is.
Gabriel 2's got these nice big wheels that can be hit by Gnasher.
Now, I think that Gnasher is sort of the perfect robot to fight Gabriel 2. I think it's going to have fun getting hold of the sides of Gabriel 2 and, just chucking it all around.
Yeah, definitely. I think I can definitely see it hitting the wheels, chewing them up a little bit, getting a few slices and scratches in there, chucking it around like you say, maybe even removing some of the rubber from the tyres.
Yeah.
Or some of the rubber from around the wheel, sorry. Because without the traction, Gabriel's a bit buggered, really, isn't it?
It is. Now, I believe the top panel of Gnasher, and I may be wrong here, but I believe it is actually HDPE under there, just very thick HDPE.
Oof. So that's going to absorb some impacts, definitely.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about the control. Now, I know that earlier we said Gnasher didn't really have much control against Tanshe and Skorpios, that's because they were much better driven machines.
Yeah.
Now, no disrespect to the Gabriel team, but Gabriel is bonkers. So all Nash has really got to do is just drive at it, really, with the weapon, which is what it's designed to do, and it will get those hits in. I don't think it's going to win by KO because we've seen Gabriel survive against big spinners before.
Yeah, definitely. This is going the full 3 minutes.
But as far as aggression and damage are concerned, it's a win for Nash on those two alone, let alone with not controls even considered.
Now, it is a case of there is another opportunity for a snipe hit for Gabriel if they can quite manage it. But again, there is an exposed weapon belt on Gnasher.
Now, yeah, but again, it's like you say, it's that 1 in a million shot.
It is.
And this is no disrespect to Gabriel, just don't see it happening, sadly.
If it was a more controlled overhead attack, then I would see them doing better at hitting it. But
like say for example Thor, if Thor was going against them,
yeah,
you could probably see that happening eventually because Thor's got
an amazing fight.
It would be. It would be.
Anyway, I disappeared into the ether then. Pull me back, man. Pull me back.
Dude. Whoa, man. So we're both in agreement then that Gabriel 2 are out and Nash are going through to semi-final 2.
Yes, poor old Gabriel. Unfortunately not making past the redemption phase. Unlucky to them, but Gnasher have gone further than TwoBBQ.
Oh god, that's really not a good sentence when you think about it. It's not a sentence you'd think you'd be saying, is it? Let's be honest.
No, never in a million years. But there we are. Them's the breaks. So we shall see them again later on. So we move forward to semi-final 1, where Skorpios is going up against Tanshe. Now, call me silly here, but I think we've seen this before, haven't we?
Yeah, it's a bit of deja vu, this one, isn't it? Without Gnasher in the picture, it's just going to be, instead of Skorpios having to focus on 2 machines, he's just going to have to focus on 1.
Yeah.
That's literally the way I look at it. I think it would be a harder victory with Gnasher in there, simply because he's got to try and focus. While it's focusing on 1, the other robot can attack it.
Yep.
Meanwhile, here I can see Skorpios just dominating the fight, controlling it, maybe getting them in the pit, maybe getting them into the CPZs, which is shunt and dead metal, by the way. The house robots on the side.
Thank you very much.
That's all right. just literally remembered that myself.
It's in the format of my own show.
That's all right. But again, I mean, I can see them throwing Tanshe in with shunt. The axe can come down, get the CO2 bottle potentially. There's a pit there.
Yeah.
Rogue house robot. I can see dead metal grabbing a hold of it.
Fog of war.
Exactly. Well,
I would like to go on the record that Anderson has just said exactly to the fact that fog of war exists.
Shut up. It exists in my nightmares, maybe.
What's this? Steam?
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, this is Skorpios' battle to lose.
Yeah. And they're not going to.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Putting it bluntly.
So, Tanshe will go through to the third place playoff then.
Yep.
And Skorpios go through to the heat final, where they'll face the winner of our next fight. Our next fight is Duck versus Gnasher. Now, I think this will be quite close, but just to ask you, who's in the arena for the house robots?
Let's go for Tequila and Matilda.
Yeah, it makes sense, because they're the only other two we haven't had in the semis. So,
yeah.
this should be
Why not?
an interesting fight. A good spinner up against the ultimate spinner killer.
Basically, yeah, it's a big chunky brum spinner versus a big chunky spinner killer. Spinner killer. Oh god, this is tough. Just basing on the fact that Ducks withstood the pressure from tougher spinners. No offense to Gnasher. I can see Duck doing this one. I can see Gnasher getting the good hits in, but with a pit in there, with the two CPZs being occupied by two house robots, obviously, and with Duck's pushing power and control, I can see it definitely go in Duck's favour. It might go the full 3 minutes, but I can see Gnasher being put in the house robots, maybe being put down the pit. Because, I mean, the thing is, again, the Robot Wars arena really benefits Duck.
Oh, it does, definitely.
As it does Skorpios. There's just so much that you can be pushed into. Because don't get me wrong, I know that the Battle Box has the kill saws and the spike strip and it has the pulverizer, but let's be honest, they're mostly just for show. They don't really do much. I know the screws are pretty formidable, but nowadays they spit them back out again. I used to keep them in there, but now they spit them out.
Yeah, unless the screws break, they're going to, just be for show.
Yeah, but meanwhile, there's more formidable. The original hazards in Robot Wars help decide fights a bit more, I feel.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I'm going with Duck.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that Gnasher isn't the fastest robot around, and Duck certainly is much quicker than it. And I can see them. Go on.
I was just going to say, you also discussed earlier that literally Gnasher, as a pusher, couldn't push anything, let alone when it's not a pusher.
This is very true. Up against a solid sort of plough shape, I don't think they're going to do too well.
No.
So with that in mind,
Duck final.
Yep, Duck through to the heat final, and Gnasher is going to join us in the third place playoff. Now, Anderson, at the end of the series, or just before the end of the series, there will be a 10 robot rumble, which we will have to try and discuss through.
Oh Christ! we hate ourselves, don't we?
I'm still not quite sure how it's going to work. I think we're just going to have to pick off robots in strength order. But for now, we shall discuss the two robots trying to get in. So we have Tanshe and Gnasher, and who would you like in the arena for the house robots?
Circulot and Dead Metal.
An interesting mix that we haven't seen yet. So, talk tactics. Tanshe's going for the out of the arena here, surely.
Yeah, definitely. And I can honestly see it getting it.
Very easily.
Again, I mean, no disrespect to Gnasher here, but it is probably the weakest robot in this heat.
Yeah.
The fact that it's got this far is a miracle in itself, considering TwoBBQ in there, and that hasn't got this far.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, again, with the spinner killing plow of Tanshe, the speed, the driving power, the driving control of Tanshe, and the fact that there's 4 very low sidewalls in the Robot Wars arena, I can't see it being very long until Gnasher gets ooted.
No, I think it's going to be another case of within the first minute. they're going out the arena. Tanshe, I imagine, have their anti-vertical flipper on.
Yeah, definitely. Again, easily. I mean, it's just a shame because it makes it sound like I don't like Gnasher, because that's not the case at all. And it makes it sound like I'm trashing Gnasher. It is a solid machine, especially for considering it's a live event machine and not a TV competitor. I just don't see it beating Tanshe, unfortunately.
I think it's a testament to how good it is the fact that it's through to the third place playoff for this heat. So it will either come third or fourth, and let's face it, they're coming fourth. But they are still a really, really decent machine, considering the fact that they've come at this from a live event point of view.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose the live events sort of help with robots trying to get better, because it's a smaller arena. You're up against robots that have more chance to kill you easier, whereas you've got a bigger arena with, yes, more hazards, but they're more spaced out in this arena. And Gnasher has more free reign to do its thing. Unfortunately, it can't really do that against Tanshe.
No, definitely not. And again, I mean, it's just with the same thing with Tanshe. You know, it's a formidable flipper and king of bots, which again is a smaller arena.
Yeah.
And has no out of the arenas. Well, it does, but they're not as big as the Robot Wars ones. So when you throw those into the mix, you've got more benefit than Tanshe, haven't you?
Definitely. So there we are. That is the decision then. I'm guessing that Tanshe go through to the third place playoff and Gnasher go out.
Yeah. Tanshe go through to the Rumble and Gnasher are gone.
Oh dear. And okay, and well done to Tanshe. Heat final time then. We have Skorpios versus Duck, an all BattleBots final. Now remember that these are Duck from last year, Skorpios from this year, and I'm guessing in the arena we'll have Shunt and Matilda for the remaining two house robots.
Why not?
Why not, indeed. Talk me through this tactics going into this fight. Who's doing what?
Skorpios, I mean, it's just the same as normal, really. Skorpios' best tactic is going to be to scoop them up and get the disc and or saw into play on a flat top though. Don't forget. And Duck's going to try and want to get around the back, get around the sides, get the beak underneath, try and get the lift, try and get the pushes, try and get the slams. But between these two machines, I'm sorry, but I'm seeing Skorpios getting the upper hand out of these two.
Yeah.
Duck's a flat, low robot with a high ground clearance. So, one, it can easily be scooped up, and two, it's easy to bring a saw into it. Skorpios, we know it's a well-driven machine. It's very hard to get a hold of. And I think Duck's going to struggle to get around the back, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think that Skorpios is probably the better driven machine here, and they are definitely going to bring down the overhead attacks. And Duck invites overhead attacks, really, by having a massive surface area on the top of their robot, as we've seen recently against Quantum. Yeah,
definitely. And again, with the house robots in there, and with the pit, and the rogue house robot and the floor flipper, and just put everything in there. I mean, like I said, the arena benefits both these robots, but in a situation like this, it's Skorpios all the way for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that means we have our final decision for this heat, that Skorpios go through to the grand final, and Duck will go through to the third place playoff alongside Tanshe.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, there we are.
So there we go.
Absolutely fantastic.
I honestly was not expecting that.
No. That was it's an interesting heat, and there's already some upsets, but definitely fair decisions all round, Anderson, so well done there.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll try my hardest.
Would you like to tease what's coming up in the next episode, because it is your heat?
Yes, I would, once I've found it. Oh, God, we're brilliant, aren't we? There we go. There it is. Right, so obviously we know that the next heat is Heat B. So, I've got Huge from BattleBots Season 8, so last year's Huge.
Yep.
Ripper from the live circuit, the newer one with the beefier front scoop plough on the flipper.
What, the one that's more flipper than robot?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Beta from BattleBots Series 7, or, ABC 2, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Way.
A beautiful robot next, Magnetar from Robot Wars Series 10.
I've just recently found out they're going to be competing in Colchester at Extreme Robots, which is going to be absolutely incredible.
Oh, and then we've got Saber from the 2019 opening battle, so that weird live event from the beginning of this year.
Yep.
And Steel God of War from King of Bots, the three-way cluster bot.
Yes, an interesting choice, which we'll dive into more next time.
Definitely. I'm very much looking forward to it, because this is quite an enjoyable podcast, to be honest.
It is good fun, and it's an interesting concept thought up by... We have an executive producer who is actually a pupil from the school I work at, who engineered this series, so I'd like to give a thank you to him for coming up with the idea and allowing for me and Anderson to run with it, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we hope all of you enjoyed it as well, awesome listeners, viewers, and however else you digest this media.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yes. And we hope you didn't think it was animal cruelty, just because there was a duck involved. No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast, except for us.
It's all about shredded duck. We love it. It's just, yeah.
I do like shredded duck. It is very tasty.
So do I.
Makes me hungry. With that, I think we're going to call it the end. So thank you, Anderson, for joining me I say as always, it's the first time. Well, I would say it was the first time. It's not. This is the third time we've recorded this now.
Yes. We screwed up the first two times, didn't we?
Yeah, the first time Anderson sounded like he was in a cave, and the second time I managed to absolutely cock up the order. So,
yes.
Whoops.
Whoopsie daisy, doesn't matter. We finally got through it, and it's been good fun. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on, and I cannot wait for the rest of the series.
Yes. So thank you all for listening, and I shall see you all again for the Roboteers. No, we're not the Roboteers Standby podcast. That's a different podcast. Another great podcast you should go and listen to, but it ain't us. We are the Judge's Decision podcast, and we shall see you next time. Bye bye.
Ta-da. So it's Gnasher, Tanshe, and Duck, yeah?
No, it's not. Cock and balls.
We can cut this out. We can edit this out. It's fine. We can do it again. Go from the beginning.
Oh my god.
It's alright. We can look. We can edit this out, and then you can put it at the end as a blooper. It's fine. We can do this. Hang on. Right. Stand by. Technical difficulties.